Have you ever felt the invisible chains that tie you, not to people or places, but to the constant need to respond, to explain, to justify? Like you're a puppet, tugged by every glance, every word, every unspoken expectation. It's as if your life is a stage, and you're playing a role you didn't choose, reacting to cues you didn't write. What if the secret to breaking free isn't in shouting louder, fighting harder, or running away, but in stepping back with purpose? In choosing a deliberate, unshakable stillness? Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This ancient wisdom reminds us that true freedom begins within, in the quiet refusal to be swayed by external demands. Picture this. You're in the middle of an emotional storm. Someone's words are sharp, their expectations heavy, their demands relentless. Now imagine you don't react. No quick comeback, no desperate defense, no scramble for approval. Just a quiet pause. In that moment, the world tilts. Those patterns of control and reaction begin to crumble. Suddenly, you're no longer dancing to someone else's rhythm. You're the one setting the tempo, standing firm in your own space. This is the power of conscious withdrawal, and today, we're going to explore how it can transform your life. The illusion of constant availability. We live in a world that glorifies being on all the time. Instant replies to texts, immediate responses to emails, endless emotional availability. These have become the gold standard of connection. We're told that to be good, to be kind, to be worthy, we must always be accessible. But what if this constant availability, this cultural obsession with being there for everyone, is not a virtue but a trap? From childhood, many of us are conditioned to prioritize others' needs over our own. Say yes when you're exhausted. Offer empathy when you're drained. Be the shoulder to cry on even when you're crumbling inside. This conditioning runs deep, rooted in family dynamics, social norms, and even workplace expectations. Seneca warned, "If you live in harmony with nature, you will never be poor. If you live according to what others think, you will never be rich." By always giving in to others' expectations, we risk losing our inner wealth, the richness of our own spirit. Think about it. When you're always available, your presence becomes expected, taken for granted. Like a song played on repeat, it fades into the background. People stop seeing you as a person with limits. They see you as a resource, a constant source of energy and attention. And the cost? Your vitality, your creativity, your sense of self. The philosopher Søren Kierkegaard once wrote, "People demand freedom of speech as a compensation for the freedom of thought which they seldom use." Could it be that our constant reacting, our need to always respond, dulls our deeper wisdom? That by filling every silence with words, we lose the space where true clarity and freedom are born? Consider the toll this takes. Every time you say yes when you mean no, every time you absorb someone else's drama, you give away a piece of yourself. It's not just time. It's your emotional and mental energy, the finite resource that fuels your dreams, your growth, your joy. By always being on, we risk becoming shadows of who we could be. The power in the pause. Now let's talk about the antidote, the pause. There's a profound strength in not answering every call, not soothing every conflict, not filling every silence with words. This isn't about being cold or passive. It's about reclaiming your sovereignty. It's about choosing when and how to engage, rather than being pulled into every emotional tug of war. Epictetus taught, "There is only one way to happiness, and that is to cease worrying about things which are beyond the power of our will." When you pause, you embody this wisdom, refusing to expend energy on battles that aren't yours. You create space, space to think, to feel, to decide what truly matters. This conscious silence is both a shield and a sword. A shield that protects your spirit from unnecessary battles, petty arguments, guilt trips, or demands that aren't yours to meet. And a sword that cuts through the noise of manipulation, expectation, and control. Have you ever noticed what happens when you stop playing your expected role? Maybe you don't respond to a provocative text right away. Maybe you walk away from a heated argument instead of defending yourself. The dynamic shifts. It's unsettling for others because it disrupts the unspoken rules of engagement. They're used to you reacting, explaining, fixing. When you stop, they're forced to face their own emotions, their own dependence. And that discomfort, it often shows up as anger, confusion, or even accusations. But here's the truth. Their reaction says more about their needs than about your absence. Let's take a real-world example. Imagine a friend who always calls you with their latest crisis, expecting you to drop everything and listen. You've done it for years, but one day you don't pick up. You're not ignoring them out of spite. You're prioritizing your own peace. Maybe you're journaling, reading, or simply breathing. That pause forces them to sit with their own emotions, to seek other solutions. It's not cruel. It's a boundary. And boundaries, while uncomfortable, are the foundation of healthy relationships. The psychology behind our impulses. Why is it so hard to pause? Why do we feel this compulsive need to react, to explain, to justify? The answer lies in our psychology, specifically in what Carl Jung called psychic energy. This energy is the lifeblood of your mind and spirit. It's what fuels your thoughts, emotions, and actions. But it's not infinite. Every reaction, every argument, every moment of overthinking drains this precious resource. Jung believed that a healthy psyche knows how to conserve and direct this energy. But in our hyper-connected, hyper-responsive world, we've lost this art. We're bombarded with notifications, expectations, and emotional demands. Marcus Aurelius reminded us, if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment. Every ping on your phone, every heated conversation, every moment you spend replaying an argument in your head. It's all a leak in your psychic reservoir, one you can choose to seal. Think about the last time you felt drained after a conversation. Maybe it was a debate that went nowhere, or a moment where you felt compelled to defend yourself against unfair criticism. That exhaustion isn't just emotional, it's your psychic energy slipping away. And the irony? The more we react, the more we lose. By trying to prove ourselves, to win approval, or to fix someone else's chaos, we tie ourselves tighter to the very situations we want to escape. There's also a social layer to this. We're conditioned to fear silence, to see it as rude or weak. If you don't respond to a message right away, you're ghosting. If you don't explain yourself, you're dodging. But this fear keeps us trapped in a cycle of reaction, where we prioritize others' comfort over our own well-being. Breaking this cycle requires courage, the courage to let others sit with their discomfort, to let silence speak for itself. Breaking the cycle of projection and manipulation. One of the sneakiest forms of emotional control isn't outright aggression, it's projection. Jung described projection as the process where we see in others what we refuse to acknowledge in ourselves. When someone projects onto you, you become a mirror for their unresolved emotions, their anger, their insecurities, their unmet needs. And the more available you are, the more space you provide for their projections to land. Seneca observed, "We are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more from imagination than from reality." Often, the emotional weight we carry from others' projections is not about us, but about their imagined narratives. Think about the people in your life who lean on you disproportionately. The friend who only calls when they're in crisis, but vanishes when you need support. The colleague who dumps their stress on you, expecting you to fix it. These aren't connections. They're transactions. Your emotional availability becomes a blank canvas for their unresolved issues. Here's where it gets tricky. Projection often feels personal. When someone lashes out or demands your attention, it's easy to think it's about you. But it's not. Their reaction is a reflection of their inner world, not your worth. The problem is, when you're always available, you make it easy for them to keep projecting. You become the go-to receptacle for their emotional baggage. When you start to withdraw, when you say no, set boundaries, or simply pause, these patterns are exposed. You stop being a canvas and become a mirror, reflecting their shadows back to them. This can be jarring. People who rely on your availability may push back, guilt-trip you, or accuse you of being selfish. But this resistance is a sign that your boundaries are working. You're no longer feeding their projections, and that shift forces them to confront themselves. Conscious unavailability as an act of self-respect. Choosing to be unavailable isn't about shutting people out or becoming emotionally distant. It's about emotional discipline, the art of deciding where your energy goes. It's saying no without guilt, choosing silence without shame, and walking away from conversations that drain you. It's about valuing your peace more than the fleeting approval of others. Epictetus said, "You become what you give your attention to." By choosing where to direct your energy, you shape who you are. This discipline is radical because it challenges the cultural script that equates availability with worth. We're taught that to be loved, we must be endlessly giving. But true respect, both from yourself and others, comes from selectivity. When you're deliberate about where you place your energy, your presence carries weight. It becomes a gift, not an obligation. Consider the principle of scarcity. In economics, things that are rare are valued more highly. The same applies to your energy. When you're always available, your presence is taken for granted. But when you're selective, when you show up only when it aligns with your values and well-being, you become a force. People begin to notice your absence, to respect your boundaries, to value your time. This isn't about playing games or manipulating others. It's about honoring yourself. It's turning off your phone when you need to think. It's saying, "I'll get back to you later," without apologizing. It's choosing solitude over a draining social event. These small acts of unavailability are declarations of self-respect, and they ripple outward, reshaping how others engage with you. The journey through solitude to wholeness. The path of conscious withdrawal isn't always easy. It requires courage, patience, and a willingness to face discomfort. But it leads to a destination worth reaching. What Jung called individuation, the process of becoming whole, authentic, and self-determined. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." This journey often begins with solitude, not loneliness, but a sacred retreat into yourself. In solitude, the noise of external expectations fades, and you begin to hear your own voice. You rediscover your desires, your boundaries, your dreams. You rebuild your identity, not based on how others see you, but on who you know yourself to be. Solitude can feel daunting at first. We're so used to filling our lives with noise, conversations, notifications, distractions, that silence feels foreign. But this silence is where transformation happens. It's where you confront the parts of yourself you've ignored, where you heal the wounds of overgiving, where you reclaim the energy you've scattered. Think of solitude as a garden. At first, it may feel barren, but with time, it blooms. You start to notice what truly matters to you. You find joy in your own company. You realize that your worth isn't tied to how much you give, but to how deeply you live in alignment with yourself. This is the essence of wholeness, a state where you're no longer fragmented by others' demands, but unified in your own truth. So I ask you now, what if the key to your freedom isn't in louder protests, grander efforts, or endless giving, but in the quiet power of withdrawal? What if saying less, reacting less, and being less available could make you stronger, more centered, more you? Seneca urged, retire into yourself as much as you can. This is a challenge, a call to protect your psychic energy, to guard your inner world, and to become the sovereign, mysterious being you were always meant to be. It's not about closing yourself off, but about opening yourself up to what truly matters. It's about choosing yourself, not out of selfishness, but out of reverence for the life you're here to live. Are you ready to embrace silence as strength? To become unavailable, not out of fear, but out of respect for your own soul? If this resonates, I invite you to leave a comment below. I choose my peace. Let's start a movement of conscious withdrawal, where we reclaim our energy and rewrite the scripts of our lives. And if you found value in this, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell for more explorations into the art of living with intention. Next time, we'll dive deeper into practical strategies for guarding your psychic energy and building emotional boundaries that empower you. Thank you for being here. And remember, the greatest revolution begins within